Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Ohio Tech Prep Podcast. My name is Matt Cola, and I am the Tech Prep Coordinator at Kent State University. I am really excited to be starting this podcast, and although it is hosted in the Northeast Ohio Tech Prep region, I hope that it will be broadly applicable to anyone with an interest in career technical education across the state of Ohio. We plan to run this podcast at least once a month, and every month we'll focus on a different aspect of career technical education in the state of Ohio. This month, we plan to focus on business advisory councils and the Business Advisory Council award process. To kick things off, I had the opportunity to sit down with Marie Williams of the Columbiana County Business Advisory Council, which is one of only a few four-star business advisory councils in the entire state of Ohio. What you hear next is my interview with Marie. Hi, Marie. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I can honestly say this is my first podcast.
Hey, me too. We have that in common.
There we go. Okay.
All right. So you are from the Columbiana County Business Advisory Council, which was one of the 5 four-star award-winning councils during the 2023 awards period. So thanks for being on today. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, your job, and the BAC?
Sure. So I am the assistant superintendent at the Columbiana County Educational Service Center. I'm going on my 11th year here at the ESC. So I started off coming in as a language arts consultant, and then I was the director of teaching and learning, and now I'm serving in the role as assistant superintendent. So with the Columbiana County Business Advisory Council, I believe, are moving on to our 5th year together. So it's something that we have put a lot of time and effort and participation in building these relationships with our school districts and our local businesses here in the county.
Okay, that is awesome. And actually, that is a great lead into my next question. How do you go about recruiting businesses and school districts for a business advisory council?
Yeah, we were really worried when this first came out. It was kind of an idea from the Ohio Department of Education, and being a rural county, we weren't really sure if we were going to have businesses that wanted to get involved. You know, there's a lot of small businesses. We weren't sure if they'd be able to get out for meetings, if they would be interested in forming these partnerships coming out to the school districts. And I was very pleased to find out that we were very wrong. The districts were very eager to welcome businesses into their districts, and the local businesses are very eager to make those partnerships and those relationships with our school districts. A lot of our local businesses realize that there needs to be conversations between themselves and the school districts to find out, what can both parties do to kind of develop that workforce together, to make sure that, the students are learning the things that they need to learn while in school that will help them later on when they come out into the real world and start, those real life job experiences.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for that. So next question, what sorts of benefits can organizations expect from participation in a business advisory council?
Yeah, definitely. Almost kind of a hands-on. It's really how much they want to be involved. Through the ESC, we have the opportunity to kind of get everybody at the table at the same time. Sometimes when you think about a business, making connections, they've got to go to each district. They have to figure out who to communicate with. And every district has their own personality. So we at the ESC have the opportunity to kind of bring everyone to the table at the same time. We kind of make those connections ahead of time. So that way it makes it easy for both the districts and the businesses to kind of have that connection right away. We're kind of that focal point for them where they can say, okay, we're looking for a business that might be able to help us with this. And then as the ESC, we're able to kind of make those connections with our partnerships, with our relationships. So that way it kind of makes it easier for everyone. So in terms of, what do they get out of it? They get the idea of building partnerships, building relationships, making the connections, having the opportunity to have discussions about things that are happening in their own districts. things that are happening in their own businesses, and then kind of bringing that all together to make sure that it's benefiting all that are involved.
That's great. That sounds like an amazing opportunity for any business partners or districts out there who are not already involved in a BAC. And there are BACs. Marie, you said that this was an ODE initiative, so there are BACs all over Ohio, correct?
Correct. Yeah. And we've had the opportunity, to attend some different meetings in Columbus, and I can say like that the BACs around the state, everybody is doing just amazing things. It's really great to go to conferences and hear what either local ESC business advisory councils are doing or even school district business advisory councils are doing. I think that it's been amazing to see the impact that these BACs have had on the relationships in terms of career connection, career readiness in the few short years that we've had these BACs. It's really great to see what's happening around the state.
That is so awesome. And actually, for our listeners, we are actually going to have a snippet of one of those virtual meetings presented later on in this episode of the podcast. So we'll be hearing from Michelle Washington from the Ohio Department of Education in conjunction with this interview and our other interviews. So, Marie, we're going to shift tone just a little bit to specifically focus on the BAC awards process. Can you tell me about why you think it's important for a business advisory council to apply for awards?
Right. So every year, your business advisory council has to turn in kind of a planning template that's due September 30th. So we're kind of working on that and getting everything pulled together right now. So, there's the regular template that you can just kind of fill out, but then there's the next piece that you can kind of move forward with, and that's applying for the awards. And I think it's really important to celebrate the successes of what you're accomplishing in your BACs. I mean, this is important work, it's time consuming, and I think it's good to really share what districts are doing and the things that are happening. I think it's great just to get the word out, and celebrate the positive things that are happening in our school districts with our businesses. So many times maybe, things that make the news may not be the most positive, but these are great stories. These are great partnerships that I think we need to continue celebrating. And we've been fortunate. This is our third year earning a 4-star award. We're one of the only ones that have accomplished this. So I think it's a lot of pressure for us to continue moving forward. But at the same time, I think there's going to be a lot more 4-star awards that are happening because I think the Department of Education has done a really good job in bringing people together to kind of talk about what the BAC plan should look like, successes that others have had. They're really trying to reach out to everybody to encourage them to celebrate, to talk about themselves, and to make sure that they are honoring and putting effort into all that they're doing. So I think it's a good thing, and I think we're going to see a lot more 4-star, 3-star awards coming from our business advisory councils this year.
That is what I love to hear. So, as far as applying for the awards, you said the award packet comes out the same time as you're planning for next year. So, theoretically, a council that anticipates applying for an award could plan a year out what they want to do to earn that award.
Absolutely. With the template, there's almost like a direction and a rubric for you to follow. So you can kind of see what the expectations are, what they're asking for. And that's something that we kind of really focus on when we're putting the template together or even planning our activities for the year. How do they kind of fit into this template? How are we making the connection to the things that they're asking? And then making our activities, the things that we're doing as a business advisory council, kind of fit into those categories to make sure that we're hitting all the marks.
That's great. Thank you. So, speaking of, what types of things did your BAC do that you think earned you the 4-star status?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we always do every year in January and February, we have what's called a vision casting forum for the year. And that kind of, even though our first meetings happen in August, it really kind of gives us an idea of where we want to go for the future. And so with our business advisory council, like we have a governing, like an executive council. So we have a committee chair, we have a vice chair, and we try to separate that. Like this year, for example, our committee chair is a superintendent of one of our districts, and our vice chair is a business member. And then when we have new elections, we'll switch that, where then the chair will be a business member, and then our vice chair will be a superintendent or a member of one of our districts. So every year for our vision casting forum, we always try to follow that same pathway. So for example, in 23, we were really focusing on economic development. So we had Lydia Mahalik from the Ohio Department of Development come and speak to us. She was kind of our keynote speaker. And then we actually invited the local mayors from our different communities in the county to come, and we had, a little panel. We were asking them questions in terms of economic development in their communities. So that way, both the districts and those at the educational level could hear, as well as our business folks who were out in the community, hearing those economic development ideas. And then for this year, we'll kind of switch it again, where for 2024, we'll have more of an educational topic. So that way, we're making sure that everyone kind of is involved. So again, we have that vision casting forum every year. Another great thing that we have is our Kids STEAM University. We partner with Kent State Salem campus, and this event is for preschool through fifth grade students, where we get the kids out and they come, and we've got local businesses, we've got local agencies that are all coming with the idea of focusing around STEM. So they all bring some kind of activity for the kids to do that involves STEM and STEAM. So the kids, we want to make sure that we're kind of exposing our students at a younger age to the different types of careers that are available, to different ways of learning. This, I believe, is our 5th or 6th year with our Kids STEAM University. And we always have great participation from all of our local businesses and agencies. And we always have great participation from the kids coming out as well.
That sounds super exciting. Is that a public event?
It is, absolutely. So anyone can come. It's free. Like I said, we've got events, we've got tables, we've got things all over the Kent State Salem campus, and it's from 9:30 to 2 o'clock.
Oh, right. Awesome. Thank you. So what sort of advice do you have for BACs considering applying for awards?
I'd say really just kind of reflect on the things that are happening, that things that you're already doing. We try really hard as a business advisory council to create a lot of events that are countywide, and we make sure, all of our districts are involved or invited. It may not be that every district participates in all of our events, but they are at least have the opportunity to participate and be a part of these different things. And then just kind of documenting and making sure. One of the things that we did this year, because we did have so many events going on, is we kind of did an annual report after each of our events. So that way we had documentation that kind of keeps track, how many students participated, what businesses were involved, what day was it. So because once you kind of get into the mindset of the year and you're moving from one event to the other, you kind of forget about some of the things that we're doing. So just kind of keeping documentation of all that stuff, so that way it's right there. So we actually created a template this year. So after all of our events, we'll just kind of come back, fill in the information, and then we'll kind of save that, so that way we can make sure that we include it in our awards application to make sure that we cover everything.
And that template is things like attendees and a little summary of the event and anything relevant that you might want to include in the awards packet.
Absolutely. They're definitely looking for data. So any type of data that you can either document or make sure that you include always helps your cause. So.
All right. Is there anything else that I didn't ask about that you would like to include?
No, I just think, like I said earlier, I've had the opportunity to hear and to see what a lot of the different business advisory councils are doing around the state. And I think people are doing some really great things. And I'm really excited for the students in Ohio, because I think that there's so many opportunities for our students. We've just got to get the word out. So many people think like, oh my gosh, I have to move away. I have to go somewhere else. And, we're having those conversations here in Columbiana County. We're a rural county, and people think, oh my gosh, I have to go to Columbus. I have to go to Cincinnati. But there's so many opportunities that are available right in their own backyards. And then, thinking about those things like cost of living, the cost of buying a house compared to, living somewhere like Columbus. So I think that that's something that we're constantly trying to work on and get that word out to students, that there are great opportunities here in Ohio. here in your own county, here in your own backyard, that will make you a successful member of society.
Absolutely. And more opportunities coming each day with things like, electric vehicles and the Intel project, which aren't necessarily in your county, but are going to be local to hopefully a lot of people listening to this.
Absolutely. And even thinking, those things can make an impact right now. I mean, our students can start learning about those things, learning about the, electrical and those things at the Career Center, even mentorships, apprenticeships, those kinds of things that will maybe just help them along the line down the road, get those jobs and those careers.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Can you tell our listeners about how they can connect with the Columbiana County BAC, or if you have any other cool public events? I know you listed your STEAM University event, but any other public events that our listeners might want to attend?
Always go and visit our website. It's ccesc.k12.oh.us. We always try to update our events and different things like that. If you ever want to participate in a career day or career fair, if you have something that you want to share with your students, certainly reach out to me here at the ESC and we'll make those connections with the school districts to get you into the right place.
I really hope you enjoyed that first episode of the Ohio Tech Prep Podcast. If you had any further questions for Marie, her email and the website for the BAC are listed in the show notes. We mentioned it really briefly in Marie's interview, but our next episode will feature a snippet from a webinar given by Michelle Washington from the Ohio Department of Education, and it goes a little bit more in depth about the Business Advisory Council Awards process and the Business Advisory Council application process. So stay tuned for that episode coming soon. And finally, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you continue listening, because I had a lot of fun making it for you.